What's up, everyone? Showdown breakdown time. It's Monday Night Football. The Rams heading east to take on the Packers. My theme for this one is no Baker Mayfield in the captain spot. Let's do this. All right, we are back for another Showdown breakdown, Where My Turds At, where we're going to try to figure out who the turds are, who the best captain plays are, how to win this showdown. Let's take another one down, Bobbywow.
Let's do it.
So we're all about here at DFS Army, and of course, as always, we're going to take a look at the matchups from this game. But before we get into the matchups, Bobby, I want to go over our points for our points against chart, the handy-dandy chart. Lets us know defenses and all that good stuff. So let's take a look at the Packers defensively to start. And you can see here by the points against chart that the Packers allow almost 2 points below mean expectation to opposing quarterbacks, 1 point below opposing wide receivers, and they are slightly below average against the running back position. Okay. Rams don't care. They don't have a running back. Doesn't help them. Doesn't help. They got nothing. Rams defense has been pretty good on the season, but actually a little deficient against opposing wide receivers. So, for example, like a running back like A.J. Dillon, it's not a great matchup on paper. They're allowing 2 points below mean expectation. And if you actually take a look at this game total, it's really low, like 38 or 39, somewhere in between 38 and 39. So not a good total on this. Low scoring game, Bobbywow.
Yeah, low scoring. I mean, two solid defenses too, right? It makes sense.
Yeah, plus two mediocre offenses. The Packers offense just generally slower moving, and they will not generally put the pedal to the metal when they're ahead in a game. So Packers are a team that if they get a lead, they'll just sit on it. They'll run the football, and they'll just try to win that game. We got a lot of years of Aaron Rodgers evidence that that's what they do. The Rams are never ahead in a game, so it's irrelevant.
Geek, I want to know, because not to derail this, but I'm not a Baker Mayfield guy. He won me over, at least temporarily, with the comeback the other day. Like that was really fun to watch. I don't know if your stance has changed at all, but I'm just kind of curious.
My stance has not changed.
Okay.
Yeah, so like could the Rams be the place where like ne'er-do-wells go to get redemption? You know, Stafford goes to the Rams and like becomes amazing for a year. Odell Beckham was shit. He goes to the Rams, all of a sudden he was great for like 6 games, right? Could they do it with Baker Mayfield? Like all of a sudden Baker Mayfield is fine? I don't know.
Jeez, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was just fun. I just fun to watch. That's all.
It was fun to watch. Listen, that game was crazy. And yeah, so much hopium with Mayfield. But let's talk about these offenses, because there's some anomalies that happened last week that I want to work our way through here. And maybe even you guys in the chat have some ideas and some recollections here. Taking a look at the snap count from last week here on the matchup sheet that we have at DFS Army, which is one of the awesome tools that I use every freaking week for every game's breakdowns. You should be using this. And part of the reason why we put this on screen for these breakdowns is so you guys who have access to these tools over at DFS Army understand how we're using them to analyze a game, so that you do that as well. So I look at snap counts. I look at, actual usage here on this chart. And Aaron Jones, 37% to 70% for A.J. Dillon. Was it a changing of the guard last week? Was Jones hurt? What happened here, Bobbywow?
That's a good question. I mean, it's been just such a bizarre timeshare. Aaron Jones kind of came out hot last season. I don't know if you remember toward the end, it was like, oh, A.J. Dillon might take over this backfield. Aaron Jones came out, basically took ownership of the lead back, and now we're kind of seeing that trend reversing once again. And it's like, okay, is A.J. Dillon the guy? Can he be the guy? So yeah, it's tough. I mean, both these teams, right? There's no RB1 to lean on. So it'll be interesting to see what happens tonight. But yeah, that's big time. The snap share from last week to the week before. So got to pay attention to that. And especially when it comes to the price, we'll see when we build a lineup, the pricing is crazy.
Yeah. And the chat is reminding us that, Jones did get dinged up during that game last week. Is he better?
He's always dinged up. It feels like he's been dinged up for half the season at this point. So it's notable.
Dylan. All right. So here, Michael's saying Dylan's kind of the cold weather back, the guy they want to bring in when, it's a nasty Lambeau Field Monday night, freezing night. Maybe that's really what a takeaway could be. Like, the Packers get ahead a little bit and just lean Dylan because he's good in the cold weather for that nasty kind of playing style.
No one wants to get in his way.
Lineup in a low scoring game like this, I would say yes. This is a low scoring affair. We're not going to get 30s out of multiple positions. We're lucky to have one or two big scorers across this entire slate. All right. Wide receiver position. The return of Romeo Doubs this week should push the other turds like the Samoa, Tuare, and whoever else off of the discussion group. But the question is, what happens between Doubs and Cobb tonight? I think Christian Watson and Allen Lazard are the unquestioned number one, the top wide receivers. If you believe that the Rams are paying attention, which I don't think they are, you would think maybe they would want to shadow. They don't do this, but maybe they would want to shadow Christian Watson with Jalen Ramsey. But I just don't think they're going to do it, Bobbywow.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it feels like that's kind of going away, that shadowing play style. So I don't think there will be a shadow, and I think all three of these guys are on play tonight.
Which one's the third?
I think Dobbs is the third guy.
Dobbs rather than
absolutely.
Cobb. Okay.
Cobb, Torrey, Watkins, all those guys got snaps last week. I think Dobbs is better than all three of them.
Yeah, and we won't see Torrey and Sammy Watkins is already released. So here we go. Tight end. Do we need these tight ends? Is Robert Tonyan done? I mean, how turdly at this point is Robert Tonyan? He's getting 51% of snaps. 5% of the targets last week. Just not a whole lot of usage. Or maybe it pops back. I don't know.
I've been waiting for it to pop back all season. He looked so good before he got hurt, and it just hasn't happened.
Yeah, and the other tight end, I think Robert Tonyan's certainly live to catch a touchdown. We've got to see what the salary is, though. I don't think we're going to see those 8 to 10 target affairs for Tonyan anymore, or it's super unlikely. But he could still catch a touchdown. There's no doubt that is in the realm of shit that could happen. Yeah. Josiah Degura, not a whole lot else going on here. I don't like the turd zone at all for the Packers. So let's shift over to the Rams, and everybody's a turd on the Rams at this point. Like the whole team, they're all like a bunch of turds. Like this is we built this show based on the whole Rams team is a where my turds at situation. I don't know what's going on with these guys, but Benny Sco, Van Jefferson, number 1 and number 2 wide receiver at this point. And it does look like Tutu Atwell comes in as the third guy. Let's see how these guys did last week with Baker Mayfield at the helm. This is interesting, Bobbywow. Tutu Atwell got the most target, the highest target share last week.
I think, not to toot the own horn a little bit, but we were all over Tutu last Showdown. I don't know if you remember that.
Tutu your own horn.
I set you up well. Okay.
Yes, you did.
No, but we were all over Tutu last week in the Showdown slate because he was being talked up everywhere. The Rams were saying they want to get him more involved, and they obviously did. So I think Skowronek and Jefferson look really good. Like it feels like these guys have, for whatever reason, rallied around Baker. They're performing. They looked good last week. And so, yeah, all three of them, but Tutu is especially intriguing.
And I think any one of these wide receivers can go off there. None of them are priced overly expensive. Even Benny Sco, I think, had a pretty good week last week. Van Jefferson didn't get a ton of targets, but the ones he did, I thought he also had an okay score. But Benny Sco, I think, had a good score last week. Shifting over to the running back position, Man, they're not making it easy. Last week, 42% of the snaps for Akers, 30% for Kyron Williams. Man, my math is I don't know if my math is off, but who the hell is missing? Somebody else got some RB snaps that's not even on the list.
So, I want to say it was Malcolm Brown. I think someone mentioned it in the chat.
Oh, Malcolm Brown, that's right. And did he get a touchdown? Or a goal line?
I feel like he did something notable. Yes,
I remember that too. So I guess there are 3 of these guys. I want to take a look and see. Notice they don't throw to them. Even with Baker, the targets were not there.
Yeah, that's the thing. Kyron Williams is the pass catching back. If they decide to switch that up for whatever reason, he gets really interesting really fast. But you're right, did not happen last week.
This question keeps coming up, and so I'm going to answer it again. That yes, I think it's fine that you can do it, but do not force that. So the way that this works, Jones and Dillon in the same lineup, it really only works in a blowout where the Packers absolutely maul them. And somehow Aaron Jones gets some early scoring and A.J. Dillon comes in late and just finishes out the game with some scoring. I will not make a rule against this pairing, but it's definitely not something that I'm purposefully looking to make happen either. So let's get into the cheat sheet. But Bobbywow, I want to think about, our usual thing, which is injuries. Are there any scenarios here where somebody I'm not feeling it on this one because both teams have 2 running backs that will be owned aplenty. There's no injury here where I need to be like, oh, if X is out, then play player Y. I can't, even between these 2 teams, I'm not really thinking of anything like that other than like a Jordan Love situation if Aaron Rodgers got hurt.
Yeah, I'm with you, Geek, especially on the Rams side of the football. I do think the Aaron Jones thing, there's something there because I feel like he's had limited snaps in a couple of games now where he's gotten dinged up. And A.J. Dillon is so cheap, you could almost make that argument for the Packers. So there's something there, but overall, yeah, I'm with you 100%.
I'm thinking A.J. Dillon as a captain or MVP becomes like that interesting, sneaky little kind of thing that I don't think too many people are going to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm alluding to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had another thought. Aaron Rodgers gets hurt. Jordan Love comes in. Mediocre. I got another thought for you. I'm going to share some news because it just recently happened. Dude, Jalen Hurts done for the season.
No, he's not. He's not.
It does not look good. He could be done.
I'm selling on the done for the season.
I don't know. There's some rumors. Broken collarbone.
Okay. I thought X-rays were negative, but prayers up because that's a problem. I haven't been season long. Okay, I'm in the championship.
You are fucked. He is
not what I needed to hear. Oh,
yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh
he
my
is not.
God.
Yeah. Like the season long fantasy football has taken a turn that is difficult. Now, I hope what you're saying is correct, and this is a sprain, and it's a week or two for the sake of my Eagles fans who I don't know if you know this. I was accepted by the city of Philadelphia as a, quote, friend of Ben Franklin. Honorary son, they call me in Philadelphia. This is true. This is a real story. We bleed green together. Eagles and Jets green. There's a connection there. But so I feel for my Eagles peeps right now, if this is the case. But let's see. If it's a 2-week thing,
I'm seeing he might play this weekend still. Okay. I think we need to pump the brakes.
Anything can happen.
Hopium. Can happen. Hopium.
Yeah. But Gardner Minshew, Big Dick Nick, the similarities. If that happens, remember? This has happened before in Philadelphia. Anyway, all right. Side note, this isn't talk sports talk radio
talking
about a showdown. All right. So let's talk about potential captains on DraftKings. Aaron Jones. We talked about it. Aaron Rodgers. Do I need to have any Aaron Rodgers, Bobby? I'm going to ask you this every freaking time we do one of these. I don't want it. I'm not doing it. But am I making a mistake by that?
You know me. I always have a reason for everything. It feels like I could come up with a reason to argue for him. I mean, the only thing is he has been known to spread the ball around quite a bit. If he throws for 3 touchdowns, 3 different guys, 300 yards, he's in the nuts. The odds of that happening, very, very slim. I don't mind Xing out Rodgers and Baker tonight.
Yeah, I've said this time and time again. The propensity for this style of quarterback to be the nuts quarterback is much, much lower than their ownership at captain in these contests. So it's not to say he can't do it. But if you got rid of all the running quarterbacks, I think it's like the ratio is about 20% of the time. Get it the real number. But it was like 20 to 25% of the time a quarterback could be the nuts captain, right? But if you remove Jalen Hurts and Fields and those guys from that discussion, and even Josh Allen, you're down to like 5 to 10% of the time at most. And it could be less. I would love to actually show some numbers. I don't have it in front of me, but intrinsic evidence. And then, but these guys will still be owned 25%. Like it'll be 12 and 12. So 25% ownership versus like a 5 to 8% likelihood. For me, you just fade it. And more often than not, that will be a plus EV decision, Bobbywow.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm not saying it's going to work. Hey, listen, Baker Mayfield got there, but he got there in a weird way. Super underpriced for a starting quarterback. Like it's a weird scenario that happened. But we don't have that here today. We're paying full price for the quarterback. Not for me.
Yeah, this to me, Geek, is a get the Sharp app out, find the best odds on to throw 3+ touchdowns, put $5 on that, and then eliminate these guys from your captain spot. That's what I'll be doing.
There you go. Just bet him to throw 3 touchdowns, by the way. That'll get you probably 4 to 1 on your money.
There you go. Yep.
Just do that. So once we eliminate these wide receivers, Christian Watson, I think, is the best play overall, but not the only play.
Yeah.
He's a little underpriced, I think, at 8,800 for the role.
He's been unbelievable. It's crazy.
If I had to choose between Aaron Jones, if I have a season-long, if you're in a season-long championship, and I'm going to tell you the decision I would make. If you're in your season-long, I'm in the playoffs. I got to advance. You got a choice between Christian Watson or Aaron Jones in your flex tonight. Which way are you going?
Oh man, I'm probably still going Jones, but it's closer than I'd like to admit.
I think I'd go Christian Watson.
I don't blame you. I mean, I certainly can't argue against it.
I'm not saying it's like super clear cut, but I think I'd probably go Christian Watson. Now, Christian Watson's projection is significantly lower than Aaron Jones' projection, just a raw projection. So, do with that what you will. But I think I would go with Watson over Jones.
I think Lazard is the best play of all 3. That's where I'm going tonight. I think Allen Lazard is.
Is it a feel or do you have a reason? What's your thought process?
I think it's somewhat of a feel thing. I mean, look, Christian Watson has been so good. I was so wrong about him. But this type of production, I don't know that it's sustainable. Like for him just to catch touchdowns and multiple touchdowns feels like, I don't know, it has to be some regression at some point here. And if he isn't scoring touchdowns, the guy that benefits the most is Allen Lazard. He's super talented. He could easily be the WR1 on the Bears at some point.
I could be the WR1 on the Bears.
True. But look at the price. Allen Lazard is too cheap on DraftKings. I think he'll end up with double-digit targets tonight, and I like him a lot. I really do.
I think Lazard for me is contrarianism. Like, it's just not Christian Watson, right? So he'll be lower owned, and that's a good thing. We want to go with the lower owned guys. I don't think there's a screaming reason why he would be a great play. Just alone. I think we might see progression, not regression, from Christian Watson, and progression being more just regular receptions to go along with all the touchdowns, right? Like he's just been a touchdown machine, but Why not just throw to him a little bit more? He is also in fairness, he is the Packers wide receiver that most reminds you of a Devontae Adams type of player. Smooth.
Whoa.
I'm not comparing him, but Lazard's role is super far from what Devontae Adams did. Cobb does nothing like that. And Dubs is like a version of that, but drops the ball all the time. So he drops it a lot.
Yeah, he's looked good, but yeah, he hasn't. Yeah. I'm with you.
The measurables on Christian Watson, by the way, like I said, I have him in Dynasty. His measurables are ridiculous. Like he was in like the top 3% of measurables for wide receivers ever. Which is why there's skepticism, like a workout warrior, can he do it on the field? But the measurables were really, really incredible for him. It's interesting that Josh chose to include Benny Sko as a potential captain, viable, but not Van Jefferson or even Tutu Atwell.
Yeah, I would imagine it's a price thing with Van Jefferson. I do think Van Jefferson has higher upside, but the price difference is significant on DraftKings at least. And Tutu Atwell, I think, is just as good of a play. It's just more risky. Skowronek's already risky, but Tutu is even more risky.
They're all pretty risky, right?
They are all risky, yes.
It's Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, and also it's Tutu Atwell. It's Ben Skowronek. Like, this is not a pairing that you want to be running.
There's a scenario that this game plays out where the Packers defensively are doing pretty well. They get a touchdown with Dillon. They get a touchdown with Aaron Jones. Not needing a whole lot of passing to Christian Watson or Lazard. Running backs are kind of doing their thing. No Aaron Donald in this game. And then, the Rams are trying to play catch-up all game. They're throwing more than they normally do. They don't have a lot of good running backs on the Rams. And all of a sudden, you're right, a Tutu or a Benny Sko, even in a losing effort, wind up being the highest owned guys. There's absolutely like a scenario where the game plays out where just the Packers take an easy early lead. They're comfortable. They're up 21-0. Now they're running the football. They're pounding it with A.J. Dillon. And the Rams got to play catch-up. What are they going to do? Are they going to lean on Cam Akers, who's not very good? No, they're going to have to throw it a lot. Baker Mayfield's there. Tutu, Benny Sko. All of these Rams wide receivers are very viable here just because they might be playing from behind. Now, the flip side is it could be just a weird, close, low-scoring game, and both teams lean on the run, field goals all day. Like, there's a few different ways this thing could play out. The one thing I don't see it playing out is some crazy high-scoring affair.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think this will be a shootout.
Listen, anything can happen in the NFL. I'd just be surprised I would be really surprised.
It was interesting. You mentioned the Rams running game. It was interesting to see Cam Akers kind of save the day last week. Like, his rebirth almost happened last week. It feels like he's taken control over the backfield and he's earned the trust back of the coaching staff. So do what you will with that. But it felt like something clicked again last week. He might be back.
They've priced him up as if he's back. I mean, come on, Cam Akers for 8,200. They're almost made him unplayable. Like, they priced him so high, Bobbywow.
They did price him high. He's up there, but
oh man,
I know. I don't like it either. It's gross.
The chances of Cam freaking Akers outscoring a kicker, low.
Oh.
It's low. He's got to get in the end zone.
Yeah, he does.
He's got to score. No touchdown. Makes Crosby outscores him. It's that simple.
I'm not saying I love him. I'm just saying last week we saw something.
Romeo Doubs also comes in on DraftKings priced up as if he's been starting forever and, $7K. I'd much rather play Benny Sko or the, the $5K wide receivers for the Rams at that price point. No, I mean, am I tripping?
It's a leverage play to me. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, points per dollar, probably looking at those guys, the Rams receivers being better plays, better options. But look at the leverage you can get by playing Doubs. I mean, single digit projected ownership.
Yeah, because he's overpriced.
Yeah.
In a showdown helps you. Totally.
But the leverage is there. That's all.
By the way, this is absolutely in play as well. Akers can score 2 touchdowns. He will be in the game in goal line situations. He can get there. No doubt. But that's what he needs to do. The floor is super low. If he's not scoring touchdowns, he's giving you a 6. There's no passing game involvement really for Cam Akers to drive up the floor, especially on DraftKings. So yeah, he needs the 2 touchdowns or just to break out. But the Packers are pretty good against the run. They're just a pretty good defense. Not going to be easy to just rack up a lot of points against them. Can be done.
That's the hole. That's the one hole in the defense. The run defense has looked vulnerable recently. I think they're 2 points below the league when it comes to fantasy points. So yeah, it'll be interesting. It's an ugly situation.
Tutu Atwell seems grossly underpriced at 4,400 here. I think when we're building a lineup, he's going to be a kind of a player that you're going to have in there. 4,400 DraftKings doesn't need touchdowns, just needs volume. The volume was there last week for him.
He is going to be owned through the roof. That's the one reason to potentially be underweight. He is going to carry. I think he's going to be 35 to 40% owned.
How'd you like to have to make this decision? Aaron Jones or Cam Akers needing 25?
Aaron Jones for me.
Yeah, I'd play Aaron Jones. He's at least shown that he could put up 25 when they load up on him. So I'd go with Jones, but I ain't expecting it. It's not looking good, bro. It's not looking good for advancing. And Robert, you are correct. Weird shit happens in primetime games. Weird shit. Embrace the weird, and you win tournaments that way. You got to embrace the weird sometimes. So, Bobbywow, anybody in the turd zone here, even of mild interest, can we skip it for this one? I mean, just once. Can we just skip it? Mercedes Lewis, Josiah DeGura, Bryson Hopkins, Austin Trammell, Malcolm Brown. What can Brown do for you? Nothing.
Man.
Brandon Powell?
Powell is in consideration for me, I guess. I feel like Mercedes Lewis was like my secret weapon in Madden 2003. Like he's been in the league for ever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Brandon Powell you could make the argument for. Some people were mentioning Malcolm Brown. He got some snaps last week. I don't know that I can go back there. He's not even min price. So maybe one of these tight ends, these min price tight ends, hope they fall in the end zone. But man, I don't know. I'm going to try to avoid it.
Yeah, I guess Brandon Powell can pull a Rashid. What was the wide receiver on
Rashid Shaheed?
Rashid Shaheed situation, right? One catch, 2 catches, 1 big play, that kind of thing. So I guess you get him. If I make him 150, I might have like a couple points on him. The 4%, but that's about it. Kickers in this game. You know, it can go either way. I think I'm leaving them normal.
I'm surprised you're not overweight.
Low scoring games do favor the kicker, right? Like kickers do better on sub 40 point projected games because there's fewer fantasy points being spread around to the secondary because there's fewer touchdowns being scored. When teams score 4 touchdowns, when we see a high scoring game, what ends up happening is inevitably the Tutu Atwells and these lower price guys end up popping off because they had to, because the team put up a bunch of points. And so then the kicker holds you back. But in low scoring games, a lot of these guys will just not get anywhere that great. And it winds up being the kickers. Also, mediocre teams, they can't put the ball in the end zone.
Yeah.
Who would take Watkins' spot? It's going to be Dubs, right? It's Dubs and Cobb. Dubs now in the game. So Sammy Watkins was released. Plus, he wasn't doing anything anyway. All right, let's try to make a DraftKings lineup here based on the information. I think the starting point for me, Bobbywow, I'm going to give you 2 choices. That's so many choices. So I'll give you more than that. I'll give you sort of my group of captains that I really like, and then you take it from there. You know, at the top end, of course, Christian Watson. Lazard is in the mix for me. Then I've got A.J. Dillon, who I think is super sneaky as a captain. And then either Van Jefferson, Benny Sco, or any of those wide receivers for the Rams. That's kind of the order that I have them.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. Dylan is. We thought he might be sneaky. He's not going to be sneaky tonight. He's going to carry some ownership at the captain position.
Really?
Yes. I think he's around 10%.
Son of a bitch. You can never get sneaky with these things.
But I think your rankings are right. I mean, he's super cheap, AJ Dillon, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Lazard's the guy for me, but I think Christian Watson, I mean, I could see why you would think he's even better. So I would say start with one of those guys.
I'm going to go Watson over Lazard. The volume hasn't really been there for Lazard since Watson has been playing. So if we're going to keep it a little more generic with this one, I'd rather go Watson because I like to be a little more generic with it.
Let's do it.
I do want to include Tutu Atwell. I think Tutu Atwell pretty much belongs in your lineup because he's just underpriced. Although one could argue that Benny Sko and Van Jefferson are also kind of underpriced, but they're all really underpriced.
Benny Sko looked good. He was a fan favorite of Baker Mayfield.
He had a good game last week. There's no doubt about it. Baker Mayfield thought it's because he thought it was Cooper Kupp.
He might as well have been at that point.
Because he thought it was Kupp. After the game, they're like, that was Benny Sko. He's like, what? It was? He didn't even know. He had no idea.
Can you imagine being a Rams fan? You go from Stafford and Kupp to Baker and Skowronek. Oh my gosh.
It wasn't that good with Stafford in there. He wasn't looking that good. So listen, the Rams don't care. Let's face it. They don't give a fuck anymore. This season's dead to them. All right. So, all right. Mason Crosby. Are we getting a kicker in this? I want to put AJ Dillon in here. So I'm going to put Dillon in there.
Okay.
Choose one of Sko. I feel like Tutu is in there already. Could choose one of Sko to have a second. Or Van Jefferson.
I'm probably going Sko.
All right. Let's do that. Now we got 10-5. Now we can pay up. So, but I don't need to pay up because who the hell are you going to play? This is a weird freaking slate. I don't even like. I have money. I had to play Aaron Jones. I don't want Aaron Jones.
I think you got. It's ugly, but you almost got to put Akers in there.
No quarterbacks.
Oh man.
Or you could switch this up and just go with Aaron Rodgers.
Go Rodgers, then upgrade Sko or Tutu for the love of.
I mean, now I don't. This is how do you even upgrade? I was like, what's better, Van Jefferson?
There you go.
This is not that bad.
I'll tell you what. He dudded last week. I think the forgotten guy, the forgotten man, because of these prices, is going to be Tyler Higbee.
No, he just sucks.
He doesn't suck.
He does.
His volume has been insane, Geek.
No, he's garbage.
He's a DraftKings darling with the volume he's had.
He was, but he hasn't really. He hasn't been getting that. I don't know. Yeah,
he hasn't. He hasn't as of late. You're right.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's been 2 years of Higbee sucking, even with volume. My problem is with Higbee. I'm just gonna say this: the dude was getting 8 to 10 targets a game where he was playing, but he still was only putting up 9 to 12 fantasy. I don't know how you can get 10 targets and only score 9. That's what he did. Fuck that guy. If you can't do it when the volume is there, you're not always going to get 10 targets.
I'm not saying I love him. I'm not saying he's a core play. I'm just saying he's gonna go underutilized tonight.
Yeah, no, he's got to
forget about Tyler Higbee.
He's got to be in your mix. I'm in a league. By the way, everybody talking about their leagues that they're, and we'll shift over to FanDuel, but I'm in a league, Bobbywow. So the opponent has, I think, Tunyon and Packers defense. This is a Yahoo standard league, but big dollars. And I need to keep them. I think I got a 20-point lead. PPR. I like my chances.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I just, as long as Packers defense, I don't want to say it now, but as long as Packers defense doesn't go crazy, I should be able to move on. That's like a $350 league. I really want to move on in that one. So
if Baker beats you, there would be something healing about that, though.
do you know I had to start Tyler Huntley at quarterback because I had Lamar Jackson and Mike White, and they were both rolled out? Like, oh shit, I had nothing. I was like, I got to play Huntley. That did not go well.
No, did not.
All right, so let's talk about FanDuel for a minute. Oh, hell yeah, Rashid won you some money. And by the way, the Dom station was kicking out freaking Lats Murray like it was 1999.
Yes, it was.
I had to like remove him and laugh at the Dom station for spitting so much Murray out. I was like, I don't trust you. And then, of course, as per usual, he went nuts.
Trust in Jesus, man.
You got to trust. Got to trust. All right. Potential captains. I think FanDuel is even more thin as far as the pool of players, Bobbywow.
Yeah.
You know,
yes,
sure, the quarterbacks are going to be much more likely to have a shot at getting there on FanDuel. But do we really think Baker Mayfield's going to get there? Unlikely.
It's hard to say for sure no because of last week. Like last week was crazy. I know it's the Raiders. They melt down all the time. But Baker looked good, and they're letting him throw the football. He threw the ball 35 times last week. It's wild.
Irish figured out the secret of the Showdown breakdown and the tournament tactics show. If you figured out the secret like Irish has, you're going to start making a lot of money.
Crack the code.
You just crack the code. All right, so yeah, Rodgers playable. We want the running backs. I don't see Cam Akers, but I would include Cam Akers in the mix here. Dylan Jones, Akers, both quarterbacks. And then which wide receiver? Christian Watson, touchdown machine. Do we need to go beyond that on FanDuel?
Probably not. No.
Probably not.
Once you get Akers in there, I don't think so.
I want to see the ownership. I mean, A.J. Dillon's going to be pretty low owned. 6% projection. I kind of like that.
Yeah, I'm probably replacing Watson with Akers. I think it's going to be a quarterback or a running back tonight on FanDuel.
I'm placing Watson. He's a touchdown machine.
I can appreciate your devotion to Watson. You've loved him from the beginning. Kudos to you for that.
One benefit of playing so much Dynasty, and this really has been a thing this season for me, and in past seasons too. Playing so much Dynasty, I do scout these guys. So like some of these names that pop up, if you're not a Dynasty fantasy football enthusiast, like you're like, who the fuck is this guy? Right? You're just like, who the fuck is this guy out of nowhere? Right? But I'm like, I've been waiting for him to play. You know what I'm saying? Like my experience was different. I'm like, oh, I watched his highlights. I was like, oh, Christian Watson is the next coming of freaking Megatron. Like he looks like Megatron out there when you look at his tape. And so I'm like, no, he does. No, legitimately watch his tape. His tape is unbelievable. But he played for like a crappy college that didn't throw the ball that much. So these kind of players, they don't always work out, but you're aware of them. So they're not sneaking up on me. It doesn't feel like a shock.
That's real. You've been on a lot of these guys that have come out of the woodwork. So
it's Dynasty. I'm telling you, it's just a Dynasty thing. You knew about it. Like we knew about Jahan Dotson too. Like that was just, it wasn't a shock for me. I drafted him in the first round. Like that was players that we kind of knew about and were paying attention to in the offseason. That, like I said, aside from the many other reasons that Dynasty fantasy football is pretty awesome, that's one of them that you tend to start scouting these guys as rookies. And then when they pop off in their first year, especially, it's not like a shock. I was waiting for it. All right. That was, by the way, and take it back for a second, Kenny Walker. We were all over that as early starts, and he was smashing. It's the same reason. I just scouted this guy and was excited about him. I could be totally wrong. I don't really actually know how to scout shit. Like I'm just a dude who watches football. Like, I don't know, but you know, you get excited, you talk to draft nicks and they're like this guy, this or that, or the other thing. And you get excited about a player, you know, and then they pop off. But I wasn't like shocked when Kenny Walker was playing well. I was like, I can't wait for this guy. Trade for him in your leagues because he's going to be a beast. Anyway.
That's so good, man. Not to keep going on it, but you had some content with Says that lined up with a lot of those things, and that's what informed my season long, and that's what informed my best ball drafts. It's really, really good stuff.
Yeah, all good stuff. All right, so FanDuel, right? We want quarterbacks, we want touchdown scorers. We got that up top. Cam Akers, the running back situation is weird. What's the price on Dylan? Oof, Dylan and Jones together, very expensive combo. Let's see where the bargains are. Lazard at 10K looks good. Randall Cobb at 9,500. Not super excited about that one. Very cheap. Why? That's interesting. A price down kickers. Usually they're 9 and 9,500. They're priced down, Bobbywow.
We need someone to look up Matt Gay kicking in the cold. That's what we need. Because he's used to a dome, isn't he? Does that change anything for you? It's going to be like 10 degrees. Snowy, maybe. All that to say, I like Crosby. I like Crosby at home for 8K.
I'm just thinking, if you're a kicker, you damn well better be able to kick outdoors, in a little bit of wind. Coldness, this guy's standing in a heating tent. He just how cold is it? Is it particularly cold in Lambeau
it's like
tonight?
Kicking a boulder. It's going to be cold. It's going to be like, I don't know, 10 degrees.
Any of you guys, get us a weather report for Lambeau. It's usually not a good scene for California teams to go into extreme weather conditions. So not that it's that big of a deal, but yeah. Romeo Dubs, 6,500. So Josh really likes Romeo Dubs. 4-week absence, 6,500. Touchdown scorer. And then look at Tutu Atwell at 6K. All right. Yeah, 18 degrees it's not that bad, but yeah, it's chilly. All right, so here's my overview here, Bobbywow. Just a general thing for this slate. Both sites have pricing in a weird way to where you know a lot of slates where Josh Allen is on it and Diggs is on it, and you're like, I really want to get them in, but I can't get them both into my lineup. Or Mahomes and Kelsey, and you're like, oh, there's so many good players, I can't fit them in. This slate is not looking like that at all. This slate looks like you could do whatever the fuck you want. With Tutu at 6K and Dubs at 6,500. So many bargains. Benny Sko, the kicker's priced down on FanDuel. And DraftKings did the same thing. Robert Tonyan could score a touchdown, 6,500. There are so many options down here who could score a touchdown. Kyron. That I don't think that salary is the major factor in what you're going to do on the slate. And I feel the same way about DraftKings, Bobbywow. I think this is one of those ignore salary, pick the right guys slates.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I like it a lot. I can't get over this too. Dobbs on FanDuel, 3% ownership. I mean, that's crazy. Like he's coming off an injury. Watson is on the rise, but man, 3% at 6,500. That is enticing. That jumps off the page.
The other component for me here is exactly what you said. Well, you don't need the turds. So Marcellus is asking, where's the turds? The reality is when you have so many cheap starting players that are not turds, that are like on the field the whole time, I don't need to worry that much about Bryson Hopkins coming in and catching a turdly touchdown, because big shit. Like that 6-point play isn't going to be enough to propel that player necessarily into a nuts lineup, because it wasn't one of these studs and duds scenarios. Ooh, there we go. We'll see about. All right, so I think he's supposed to play, but if he doesn't play, different story. But nonetheless, you still have Tutu Atwell down there and other players that are cheap enough on both sides to where I don't think salary is going to be super relevant, but I also don't think loading up on these kind of turds like these guys is going to be necessary. That's really where I was going with it. I don't think we need the turds in this one.
Maybe not. Let's build a lineup on FanDuel, but I think Dobbs is in. I'm pretty sure he's in.
Yeah, I thought he's playing too, but so FanDuel lineup once again, like more often than not, it is confirmed. Is it confirmed? No,
not confirmed.
Not confirmed.
I think he's playing.
Our understanding is that he's going to play tonight, but like I said, 6:05. What are we? 20 minutes away from inactives, so we'll know. think you start with either Rodgers. Who's the safest starting point? Is it Rodgers?
I think it's Rodgers.
Man, it's so rare that he's going to score well. This is a weird one. So I put in Watson because that's my guy, right?
Lazard.
You like Lazard. We'll put him in there. Double tap. I mean, look at what's going on here, Bobbywow. Put in Dylan. You can... I don't need a turd.
So I don't, tell me what you think about this. I think I'm going to, I don't know, I might even make a rule. No Rodgers and Dylan in the same lineup. If we're talking about taking down a tournament, I might make that rule.
I mean, I don't hate it.
If one of them's going to be your MVP, especially.
You know what my rule's going to be? No Rodgers, no rerun, no rent. You have to be a certain age and a certain person to understand what the fuck I just said. So if that person is out there, no Rodgers, no rerun, no rent. If you're out there and know what the fuck I'm talking about, hit me up in the comment section below. I'm assuming you have no idea what that just was from.
I no idea. I'm assuming something from well before my time.
It's even before my time.
Oh, wow.
It's before my time. All right. I got shit stuck in my head that just comes out. It's from a sitcom from the 70s. That's all the hints I'm going to give out.
That's incredible. That's wow. Okay. Well done.
Yep. Yes, Crystal. Yes. Yes.
Lord have mercy.
Oh my God. Why do I remember it? No Roger, no rerun, no rent. All right. Anyway.
I think I'm taking Dylan out and putting Akers in this lineup, but again, either way works. Like you said, there's a lot of ways to do it. Don't pay super close attention to turds and salary. Play the best guys.
I don't even know if it was what's happening or good times. I don't even know what the difference is.
My brain is mush right now. What is
the one with rerun? All right. Yeah, it's because, I was talking about also Kenny Dynamite Walker, and it's also from that show. All right. Anyway.
I love it so much.
All right. That's going to do it for the Showdown breakdown, guys. We got a good one tonight. So let's start making some lineups for this thing.
Turd. Who's the turd? We need people to throw their turds in the comments.
That's right. Hit us up with your turd of the week. I don't think there might not be a turd in this one, Bobbywow. I say no turd.
And so by no turd, are we setting a price like nobody below 7,500 on FanDuel is going to be in the nuts? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I'm saying that there is no turd. I don't count Tutu Atwell, not a turd.
He's
Tutu Atwell for me, just because he's cheap. Cheap is not a turd. A turd is a fourth stringer, a fifth stringer, some weird fucking second string tight end. It's not the wide receiver who's on the field for every play and got the most targets last week. That's not a turd. It's just a mispriced player. So I say no turd. No turd.
That's a bold call. That's
my bold call. No turds this week. Bobbywow, turd hat bet on the no turd call.
Yeah, let's turd hat bet that.
All right.
I like
Here we go. Turd hat bet on the no turd call. So that now when you guys see like Samuel Tuare scoring a touchdown, you're like, oh, fuck, Kevin's wearing a turd hat again. I say no turd.
FanDuel, right? We're talking FanDuel.
FanDuel. I think I'm okay with extending that out to DraftKings.
Well, DraftKings, it's more obvious to me that there's not going to be a turd.
Oh, really?
In a bizarre way.
You don't think it's bold to call the no turd?
It is bold. It is bold. I feel like the bet is skewed in my favor, but
that's why I was going to allow it to skew in your favor. Like it's way in my favor on FanDuel, I feel like.
Yeah,
I'm going
I
both.
So.
I'm skewing it.
Okay.
I'm skewing it. The way Bob, you usually give me like odds on your turd bets. I should be like minus 300. Like you always give it skewed to me. This one I'm skewing to you. No turd.
No
FanDuel
turd.
or DraftKings.
Let's say this out loud too. Tutu Atwell is going to be highly owned. Okay. Tutu Atwell, for the record, in my opinion, is a turd.
Oh, I'm not counting him as a turd.
Last week, he would have scored 7.5 on FanDuel. 7.5. We're acting like he was a massive producer.
FanDuel only rewards touchdowns. That, if you want to talk about what FanDuel does, that's why we like quarterbacks and kickers, because FanDuel scoring rewards touchdowns. But he's not a turd. He's the WR3. He's on the field for 80% of the snaps.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll score tonight now, but just proceed with caution. He's going to be 30+% owned. He's going to be popular, and let's just not forget he's Tutu Atwell.
Are you talking FanDuel? Because, like I said, we just saw on FanDuel, you don't need that turd at all, and you can make great lineups and not have to spend down below the kickers even at all. That's
he won't be nearly that high owned on FanDuel. I'm mostly DraftKings. I think he's going to be up there.
I want to clarify this for Crystal. Nothing wrong with the turd. What we talk about a turd is like when you're on a showdown and you're playing the showdown and you're watching it, and we were all watching the Cowboys yesterday, right? And we're all waiting for the Dallas Schultz touchdown, and all of a sudden Peyton Hendershot's fucking breaking out. I'm like, is that Schultz? No, it's not Schultz. It's Peyton Hendershot. That was a turd, like a backup tight end. The fullback comes in, and you're like, what? Who? That's a turd. But it's that player that leads to showdown wins constantly. Like, so that's the fun of the turd concept. Like, who's the turd that's going to take this one down for us? Which is why we always try to identify who that person might be. Last week it was we had a starting quarterback get hurt, and all of a sudden a backup quarterback comes in and is in the winning lineup. You're like, oh boy. Although we anticipated the Mayfield thing, but in general, that's what we're trying to identify. Those players, they're listen, we don't have anything against those players. We think they're, I'm sure, lovely people, but for the purpose of this, it's like somebody you never heard of that scores.
We need to put a metric on that. Okay.
Yeah, and the TE turds were going crazy yesterday. Hell yeah. Like the whole first 2 hours of football, it was just turd after turd. There were names I can't even recall them now scoring touchdowns. I'm like, who? What? Who got it? Who was the guy? It was, I had like a QB stacked with everybody. Yeah, it was Dak. Like Dak just kept throwing to everybody that wasn't.
Was it Noah Brown? I think
Noah Brown was crazy yesterday. But and then there were other names too that he was throwing touchdowns to. It was like Peyton Hendershot. So many backup tight ends. It was brutal. All right, good luck tonight, everyone. We wish to see you at the top of the leaderboards. Let's take this. Let's send week 15 out with a bang tonight.
Let's do it.
Do it. All right. Good luck, everybody.